What is up, everybody? Daniel Rock 08 back again on our video. 2001 year in review continues with WWF Unforgiven. One of the weirdest shows I've ever seen. This show takes place after 2 weeks after the worst tragedy in American history, the September 11th terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers, Flight 93, and the Pentagon. A date that will surely live on in infamy as 3,000 people lost their lives in this horrific tragedy. However, I'm not here to talk about September 11th, of course not. This is a wrestling channel, so I want to talk about Unforgiven. However, those events that happened do shape how this show was done. You see, in the main event, we have Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'll explain how the events of September 11th changed this very show. But before I talk about Unforgiven, the weeks leading up to Unforgiven were very, very weird, to be precisely. You do have a great SmackDown that paid tribute and was all about America, fuck yeah, right after September 11th. That was a great SmackDown, but you had a lot of defectors to the Alliance that were very questionable at best, trying to recreate the Monday Night Wars where anybody can jump shit. You know, where you remember those Nitros where all of a sudden you see Scott Hall coming down the aisle and says in the ring, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. You want a war? You're going to get one." Remember that time when Lex Luger just came out in the very first episode of Monday Nitro in Mall of fucking America and just showed up just staring at Ric Flair and Sting and then challenged Hulk Hogan? You remember that? Do you remember when the Radicals showed up on that January 23rd, 2000 episode of Raw? Do you remember the debut of Chris Jericho? All of these events, all of these, whether it was the Outsiders, Lex Luger, the Radicals, or Jericho, or the Big Show, or whatever the case may be, all these people that jumped the boat, that jumped shows, these were incredible moments, and they were monumental. However, the Invasion tried to recreate a lot of those, try to get those magic back. They tried by having Test jump, by having Christian turn on Edge, his brother, which, by the way, they say that they're brothers, but you know, back then I actually believed they were brothers. I digress. So you have Christian, you have Test jumping ship, William Regal jumped ship later on, then Kurt Angle jumped ship as being the mold for some reason. They tried their absolute best to recreate those great moments. It just didn't fucking work. Why? Because it's Christian. I love Christian, but he's not Scott Hall. And you're not going to recreate that magic anyways. And then you have Sarah Calloway beating Diamond Dallas Page. In about 20 seconds after DDP gets his ass whipped by The Undertaker for the 4,000th billionth time inside a month. I guarantee you, when Diamond Dallas Page gets into the Hall of Fame in next month before WrestleMania, I guarantee you they're not going to talk about Sarah Calloway beating him in 30 seconds, or where the fuck it was. I guarantee you, if 2K decided to do another DLC package of Showcase Mode with the Hall of Famers, I guarantee you that DDP versus Sarah Calloway will not be a match in the game. Well, maybe it will be. It was fucking shitty. So let's talk about Unforgiven finally. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, this is Unforgiven. We have the Dudley Boys defeating the Hardys, Big Show, Spike Dudley, that's a tag team, the Hurricane Helms, and Lance Storm in a forgettable Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match for the WWF Tag Titles. Once when you sit through watching the two TLC ladders and chairs matches, you know, it's really, really hard to, you know, it's You know, that's the problem with those matches. Those matches set the bar so high that it kind of ruins future tag team title matches. This is just a fine Fatal 4-Way Tag Title match. It's kind of like the one from WrestleMania 18 later on. Nothing really to brag about. A 6 out of 10. Next up, we have Perry Saturn, the man who should be in the Alliance but isn't, defeats Raven in a piss-poor, forgettable 5-minute match that's about Moppy. Raven, by the way, kills Moppy in a woodshedder. It was both terrible, sad, hilarious, and fucking gross. 3. Next up, we have Christian defeating Edge. Christian turns on his brother, although I believe that they were brothers, for the Intercontinental title in a surprisingly disappointing match. I don't think these two really had a great match together. You know, it's just these two were just better as tag team partners. And, you know, when you were 7 years old, and I loved Edge and Christian, I wasn't ready for them to split up. This is a surprisingly disappointing match. They had a good match on Raw in late 2010. They do have a good ladder match. But next month, when I talk about No Mercy, but this is just fair. A 6 out of 10. Then we talk about that match. Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane versus Bryan Adams, the former Crush, and Brian Clark, the former Atom Bomb. Chronic for the WCW Tag Team titles. In one of the worst tag team matches I've ever fucking seen. I would have been nice. I was watching this match, and I said, I want to give this a 0, because I'm going to be nice and not shit on it so bad. But I had to stop and think to myself, is this match worse or as bad as any match from WrestleMania 11? As any match from King of the Ring 95? As any match as December to Dismember? Is this match as bad as the Kennel from Hell? It is. Oh, baby! It is. Now, it's not as bad as the Kennel from Hell match, but this match is incredibly botchy. And I will say this. This isn't the absolute worst tag team match, because I've seen the absolute worst tag team match. Thank you, Heroes of Wrestling. That honor goes to Jake Roberts, King Kong Bundy, Yokozuna, and Jim Neidhart. But I will say this. While this is not as bad as Kennel from Hell, as sure as WWE pay-per-view matches go, this is the worst tag team match. No gimmicks. Just a standalone tag team match with no gimmicks there is in WWE pay-per-view history. Actually, maybe, possibly of all of WWE. You can take away your throwaway tag team holla 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 playa Teddy Long specialty tag team matches there is and throw them out the window. You can take Miss Jackie, Chris Nowinski versus Bradshaw and Trish Stratus from July 2002 episode of Raw out the window and toss it shoved up your candy ass. Because at least that match was only 3 minutes long. This match is about 13, and it is shit. You can just see the pent-up frustration in The Undertaker as he literally wants to beat the piss out of Brian Clark. As he literally wants to beat the piss out of Bryan Adams, who apparently was respected in the fucking wrestling business. These are 4 veterans, and sure, while Bryan Adams and Brian Clark are nearly not as great or look great upon as Undertaker or even Kane, surely they can pull themselves together to have a decent tag team, a normal conventional tag team match, but it isn't. This match looks like as if it's their very first tag team match. This match is so bad. It's one of the worst Undertaker matches. It's one of the worst Kane matches. It's the worst tag team match in WWE history. The worst one. You can take all those holla 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 specialty Teddy Long tag team matches and toss them up your ass. You can take Miss Jack and Chris Nowinski versus Bradshaw and Trish Stratus to go shove your kitty ass. You can take all of those other tag team shit matches, all those forgettable matches, all of them. You can take Snooki and John Morrison with Trish Stratus and all the other fuckers from WrestleMania 27. You can take all of those matches and just shove them up your ass. Chronic versus Brothers of Destruction is the worst tag team match in WWE history. And the absolute worst match in 2001. Period. That includes WCW pay-per-views. That includes WCW matches in 2001. I'm dead serious. This is one of the worst, absolute worst matches in WWE pay-per-view history. In fact, it is a top 20 worst WWE pay-per-view matches there is. Brothers of Destruction gets the victory. It's not a good year for The Undertaker at all, as he has yet another shit match. Minus 4 out of 10. I could not be nice. I had to say to myself, is this as bad as the Kennel from Hell? It isn't as bad, because that had dogs shitting on each other. That had dogs humping. And that had some of the worst in-ring action I've ever seen. So as far as the gimmick goes, that's because it's a gimmick. But as far as a normal, conventional tag team matches go, this is the worst one. This is one of the worst matches, period. Minus 4 out of 10. Next up, Rob Van Dam defeats Chris Jericho for the hardcore title in an outstanding match. Rob Van Dam proving once again that he is by far the most over guy in the alliance, as he gets a bigger ovation than Chris Jericho got. He really did. And Rob Van Dam goes from facing Jeff Hardy, going from being a hidden gem of the alliance, facing Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kurt Angle in the main event, No Mercy for the WWF title. So this is a great match. It's a lot like his match with Jeff Hardy. There is ladder spots. Even though Stephanie gets involved, whatever, it makes sense. I give it an 8 out of 10. Rob Van Dam, the whole effing show, proving he belongs. That he's just not one of these hot shit ECW guys. That he's not a hot shit ECW guy. That he does belong with other top tier talent. And he proves that very much so when I talk about No Mercy later on. An 8 out of 10. Outstanding match as Rob Van Dam retains. Next up, we have The Rock defeating Booker T and Shane McMahon in a handicap match to retain the WCW World Heavyweight title. Now, I know a lot of you guys like to cry and bitch and moan about how Triple H buried Booker T at WrestleMania 19, but I got to tell you this. Yes, it took a grand total of 35 seconds for Triple H to pin Booker T for the 1, 2, 3, but you know what? At least Booker T went one-on-one with Triple H. And at least it took Triple H and a little bit of help from Ric Flair to beat Booker T. And yes, it took 45 seconds or 35 seconds after a long pedigree. It took a long pin after a pedigree to beat him. But in this match, Booker T and Shane still couldn't beat The Rock. Booker T, Shane, and Test thrown in still couldn't beat The Rock. Booker T, Test, Shane McMahon, and a crooked referee still could not beat The Rock. This is the fucking Rock. The guy who will put over anybody that Steve Austin doesn't want to put over. The guy who will put over the fucking Hurricane. The guy who has put over the Hurricane. The guy who will put over anybody. This is the guy who put Chris Jericho over 3 straight pay-per-views in a row when Triple H won it, when Steve Austin won it. This is the guy who put over Brock Lesnar when Steve Austin won it. But you moan about Triple H burying Booker T. Let me tell you this. Booker T, Shane McMahon, Test, and Nick fucking Patrick still could not beat The Rock on this night. A 6. I'm being so nice. I hate this match. Booker T, Test, Shane, and Nick Patrick still can't beat The Rock. You want to talk about the reign of God? The reign of God was all in The Rock on this one night. Rhino defeats Tajiri in the run-of-the-mill United States title match. 3 out of 10. Finally, we get to Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin for the World Wrestling Federation title. Now, I said before the show how 9/11 changed the events of this show, changed the outcome, changed the layout. Well, it's actually true that Kurt Angle did, in fact, win the World Wrestling Federation title because of the events of 9/11. And Vince McMahon, being that America fuck yeah and fuck you to everybody else, he wanted to have the American hero, the guy who won the gold medal with a broken freaking neck, the guy who won the WWF title, the freaking WWF title. Kurt Angle wins. And he celebrates with his family. He celebrates with the WWF roster. And we get a celebration of a lifetime. Kurt Angle's made out to be a bigger American hero than Hulk Hogan ever could have been. This is a fantastic match. And as I said, 9/11 did change the outcome of this match. Kurt Angle wins, but he is not WWF champion for very long, as he will lose that said title 15 nights later on Raw, back to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I give it an 8 out of 10. Overall, Unforgiven is a very weird show. You have 2 outstanding matches. Rob Van Dam versus Jericho. Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. But you have Brothers of Destruction versus Chronic, the absolute worst tag team match in WWE history. Top 10, top 20 worst pay-per-view matches in WWE history, period. The worst match of 2001. And you have Booker T, Test, Shane, and Nick Patrick not being able to beat The Rock. You also have Sarah beating DDP inside 30 seconds about a week before Unforgiven. Overall, Unforgiven's a mediocrity of a show, and further proves why the invasion was a bottom piece of bullshit. A 4.5 out of 10. It's mediocre. It's right up there with Survivor Series 2000 being kind of forgettable. I catch you next time for WWF No Mercy. Click, click, boom. I'm coming down on the stereo. Hear me on the radio. Click, click, boom. See ya.